Hi everyone, this is Julie from Totally Holistic Health, and today I wanted to just share a really lovely yoga routine with you, which is fantastic for beginners. Most people tend to feel that they tend to look at yoga and see all the lovely fancy sort of shapes that people tend to see in magazines, and to be honest with you, that really isn't what yoga is about. Yoga is really much more of an inward journey. It's more about learning to accept yourself for a start, and obviously the fact that sometimes you can do certain poses, sometimes you can't, and also obviously it does take practice, so sometimes you see people doing these fancy shapes and things, but that's taken years and years and years to actually achieve that. So a lot of people tend to feel a little bit disheartened, but the really thing is just really enjoy the practice, enjoy how it makes you feel in yourself. So we're just going to do a very gentle starting routine that would be really nice to do. Obviously, if you have any health issues, obviously just be really mindful of what you're actually doing. But we're just going to start off in a seated position with legs crossed. Now, if you have really tight hips, you might find you're struggling to actually sit here. So you might find that your knees are up by your chin, your chest. In which case, just get a blanket or something or a cushion and pop that underneath your bottom. And what that does, it just tilts the pelvis a little bit, so it just makes your knees a little bit lower, and also makes it a lot easier to sit upright, because most people tend to find they sort of sit a bit like this, so very much a curving in of the belly. So try to just draw the body upwards, so you're actually rooting out of the ground with the head over the heart and the heart over the pelvis. And again, just enjoy that sensation of how this actually feels. And also be aware of the breath as well as it moves in and out of the body. So just take a few moments really just to feel how your body actually feels in this position. Drawing the shoulders down from the ears. So have a nice little bit of gap there between the ears and the shoulders. And just take a few moments with the breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And also take time to sort of listen to the breath as well. Are you breathing from the belly or are you breathing from the chest? So just try to maybe breathe into the belly first. So breathing into the belly. So when you take a deep breath in, fill the belly up with air, and just see if you can draw the air from the belly also up to the chest as well. So you're really, really filling the belly up first. And same on the out breath. Just bringing the belly back to the spine first, and then just bringing the air out of the chest. So it's really much more of a full breath. And you'll probably find as well with your out breath, if you take a slightly longer out breath, you'll also find that's quite relaxing as well. So it will just relax the body down just a little bit as well. And also if you're struggling with your nose, if you've got a blocked up nose, you can breathe through the mouth, but it's actually easier and more beneficial to breathe through the nose. But the breath is really important with yoga. You need to just be aware of that breath. You also need to sort of feel it as you're working through the postures as well, because the breath really gives you that life force energy. So if you haven't got the breath right, or you're breathing very shallow, you'll probably find that you haven't got as much energy in your body. So breathing really, really nice full breaths will really help that. Okay, so we're just going to start off just by releasing any tension in the neck and the shoulders. So we're going to bring the chin down to the chest. So this really should feel more of an extension of the spine rather than stretching your neck down towards the chest. So just keep that lovely upright posture, and just see if you can just lower the chin down towards the chest a little bit, but also just feel that lovely extension in the back of the neck. Keeping the lovely upright posture, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. So now we're going to just roll the right shoulder, so the right ear to the right shoulder. And keeping that lovely breath really steady, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. Try to bring them down, don't bring the shoulders up to join the ears. We're trying to keep that lovely gap between the ears and the shoulders. But also just be really mindful of how that feels on that side. You might find if you breathe a little bit more, it just release a little bit more, or you might just find it's really, really tight, but don't force it. If it's in pain, you just stretch a little bit too far, so just bring the head back a little bit. Just by stretching it slightly, you will achieve exactly what you need to achieve today. And then rolling the chin back down to the chest, and then bringing the left ear onto the left shoulder. And again, you might find it feels different on this side than the other, which is absolutely fine, perfectly normal. Again, using the breath, bring the shoulders down away from the ears. Just enjoying that sensation. Rolling the chin back down to the chest. And then going back up. Okay, so we're going to go some nice sideways movements now. So we're going to bring the hand onto the floor next to us. So ideally with your elbow crease facing upwards if you can. So try to make sure that you're keeping both buttocks onto the mat. We're not rocking over to the side. We're actually just trying to expand that side body. So bending the elbow. Also, it's also quite nice to keep the left hand just on that hip or behind the back, because what it does, it just brings that shoulder back rather than bringing the shoulder forward, so you actually feel as if you're actually coming forward there. You're not. What we need to do is keep the chest very square on, keep that hand behind the back, and just see if we can just bend that elbow to open up that side body. Again, you should feel that lovely extension there. Keeping the breath really steady, so not holding the breath, just really keeping the breath really steady. And then coming back to centre. Same on this side again, make sure the elbow crease is facing upwards. Bring the right hand onto the hip and just bending down very gently. Again, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. Back to centre. So we're going to change the cross of the legs now. So the leg that is behind, we're going to bring in front. So it should feel a bit weird because they're not a natural cross. So we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to bring the right hand down onto the floor next to us. Again, bring the left hand onto the hip, bending the elbow. You can just feel that lovely stretch there. And if you want to here, if your shoulders allow it, bring that top arm overhead. So just increasing that stretch a little bit more. Centre, but obviously if your shoulders are a bit restricted, don't do this, you'll hurt. So elbow behind the back, bending the elbow, left elbow towards the floor, keeping the chest really square on. And again, if the shoulders allow, bring the arms overhead. And here you can play around with this a little bit as well. If you want to look up to the hand or look down to the palm. Again, using the neck a little bit, that's quite nice. Maybe try to just play with that a little bit as well. And then come back to centre. Okay, so we've gone side to side, so we need to come forward now. So you need to keep your legs crossed like this if that's comfortable for you, or if your hips allow, bring the soles of the feet together. This is called Baddha Konasana, or it's also called butterfly or the cobbler's pose. So it doesn't matter how close into the pelvis you bring your feet. If you can only bring them this far, that's absolutely fine. Or if you can bring them a little bit closer, again, that's absolutely fine. So try to make sure we have that lovely upright posture. We're not sinking into it like this. We're keeping that lovely upright posture again, engaging that core a little bit, making sure your head is over your heart and your heart is over your pelvis, and what that does, it just energises the back of the body, so it keeps that lovely flow of energy from the ground up to the crown of the head. And again, bringing the hands onto the floor in front of you. So keeping the chest, so we're going to try to hinge here from the hips rather than bringing the chest forward. So bringing the hands onto that floor in front of you, keeping the chest nice and open, shoulders down the back. And again, this might be what you can do. If you are struggling, again, just get a couple of maybe books or put underneath your hands just to raise your hands up a little bit. And again, you should feel the stretch on the inside of the thigh. Or even just bring the fingertips down if that suits you. And then walking the fingers slightly further away if that suits you again. Don't forget this is your practice, you might feel quite tight in the hips, which is absolutely fine. And then walking the fingers back. Okay, so we're going to stretch the legs out and coming sideways. Now again with this one, you might find if you tend to slouch a little bit, you might find if you put something with your bottom again, that will just tilt the pelvis a little bit and make it a little bit easier to stay upright a little bit more. We're going to keep the legs nice and strong, so that will help with the stability as well. So try to make sure your heels are pushed away from you. And again, engaging that core will keep you nice and upright, so it should be a bit like a right angle. So, in that lovely right angled posture, I'm going to bring the hands into play now, so 10 fingers and 10 toes. I'll bring the arms above the head. So if you've got restrictions with your shoulders, you might want to keep your hands nice and wide, which is absolutely fine. I'm going to twist round to the right. Bring the left hand onto that right knee and the right hand behind. I'm trying to maybe come onto the fingertips again, just to give you that lovely lift rather than slouching down. So again, you should feel it's more of a twist in the belly rather than turn your head. The head can come through last if that feels okay. Keeping the breath really steady. And then back to centre. Again, keeping the legs really strong here. 10 fingers and 10 toes. Bring the arms above the head. Again, arms wide if that suits you. Again, if you've got the restriction in your shoulders. Twisting round to the left. So again, right hand onto that left knee, left hand behind, using it to give you that bit of extra lift. Head goes round last. And then back to centre. So we've gone twisting, we've gone front and back, side to side, sorry, not back, front, side to side. So we're going to go back now. So we're going to bring the hands onto the floor in front of us. So I find with my body geometry, it suits me to have my fingers facing towards my bottom. If you've got wider shoulders or your shoulders are a bit stiff, you might find bringing the hands away from the body, it suits you better. So again, just play with it and see which you feels better for you. So what we're going to do here, again, we're going to just draw the shoulder blades down the back. So almost as if you're trying to hold a pencil between your shoulder blades. So really opening up that chest. You know, keep the lovely strong legs, keep that really nice gap between the shoulders and the ears. And again, sometimes you can give yourself a little bit of an extra challenge. If this suits you, that's absolutely fine, just stay in this position. But if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more and you're feeling quite strong, what you can do, you've got a couple of options actually. You can bend the knees and bring your feet flat on the ground and then just raise the bottom up. Again, it's quite strong on the arms and the shoulders. And then lowering the back down. Or what you can do is straighten the legs out and then just raising the bottom up again into a reverse plank. But again, if you want to just keep your bottom on the ground and just bring the shoulder blades together, again, that is absolutely fine. Just do what feels right for you. And coming back to centre. So we're going to come into all fours now. So swing your legs around and bring your hands underneath your shoulders. So if you have issues with your knees, make sure that you do fold your mat up if you've got a yoga mat. Just protects the knees a little bit more and just gives a little bit of padding, or you can put a blanket or something underneath the knees. Make sure your hands are nicely widely spread. Just going to do a mat there. So your fingers are really pushing into the mat to make this sort of, it helps protect the wrists a little bit. It's quite a strong posture with the hands. And we're also going to push away from the floor, so we're not sinking into the shoulders. We're really making sure we've got that really strong, energized arms, and making sure that your knees are underneath your hips. So from here, we're going to just drop the belly down towards the floor. So you're sticking your bottom into the air a little bit. So you've got a nice curve back there as your belly comes down towards the floor. And then we're going to engage the core, so pull the belly back to the spine, arch away from the floor, so dropping the head down between the arms, and dropping the belly down, so as the belly comes down, the head comes back up, and again. Okay, so we're going to come into a neutral spine. So the cat-cow is really nice because it just mobilises the spine, so it's really, really lovely just to get a bit of movement into the spine as well, particularly if you're stuck at a desk quite a lot. And you can play with it quite a lot, so you maybe bring the hips from side to side if that suits you. So again, it's quite nice, you can do quite a lot in this position on the all fours. Okay, so now we're going to just bring to the front of the mat a little bit more. We're going to bring the right leg behind us. So stretch that heel away from you, so really enjoy the stretch on the back of that calf. Also, if you make sure that you put the top of your left foot, push that into the ground, it gives you a little bit of extra stability. And then we're going to raise that leg up now, so it's about parallel to the floor. So you don't have to do this if you're not feeling it today, just keep that leg down. Again, it doesn't really matter, this is your practice, so do what feels right for you. But if you're feeling you want to challenge yourself, you can bring that leg up. Again, if you engage that core, so pull the belly back to the spine, it really will give you that extra stability. So again, you can stay here, or you can bring the left arm up, so that's facing out. So you're on a wobbly tabletop now. Or again, you can bring that leg down again and just do the same. Bringing everything back to centre, and then bringing the left leg back. Really enjoy that lovely stretch on the back of the calf. Okay, and if that feels okay, pushing the right foot back into the floor, making it really strong, giving that left leg a nice lift so it's parallel with the floor. It's also good to make sure that you rotate that foot as well, so you bring the little toe side down a little bit, so that just keeps that lovely level pelvis. And again, if you're feeling strong enough, bring the right arm up. Keeping the breath really steady. And the arm back down, and the leg back down. I'm going to come down to a nice kneeling posture. So these postures are quite strong on the wrists, so if you've not done yoga before or you're a bit rusty, it can make your wrists quite sore. So we need to just mobilise them a little bit. So you can just bring the wrists back and then down towards there. Just enjoy that lovely stretch on the back of the wrists. And maybe do some nice circles just to get some energy back in there as well. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to come back onto all fours again. So again, making sure that you get the groundwork right first. You're pushing your fingers into the floor, making sure that your fingers are nicely widely spread. Ideally, your elbow creases should be facing each other. Knees are underneath your hips. Okay, so we're going to curl those toes under, and we're going to open up the knees and just push back with the arms. And enjoy that lovely stretch on the back body. So you can keep your knees nicely bent, you don't have to keep your legs straight. But what we're going to do now, we're going to push that left heel down towards the ground. So straightening the left leg, just bending that right knee. So see if you can just really enjoy that stretch in the back. And then the same with the right side. And the same with the other side. And push back. Bring the knees back down to the floor. Okay, so we're going to now bring the right leg forward. Okay, so bring the hands either side of the knee, or the foot. If you're struggling, if you've got shorter arms, what you can do is bring both hands on the inside of that foot, if that suits you. So, or put a couple of blocks or a couple of books underneath your hands, just to raise your hands up a little bit so it makes it a bit easier. So what we're going to do now is, again, this is your practice. If you feel you're able to do so, curl that back toe under and just come into more of a lunge. But if you don't feel like that today, bring that knee down, flatten that foot. And we're going to just bring the left hand onto the mat next to us and just rotate round to the right. So again, you put your hands on your hips, have the hands in the air. And if you're doing it off the knees, it should feel like something like this. Again, it's a nice rotation. And then come back centre. And then bringing that right foot back, and then bringing the left foot up. So again, the same applies. You bring both hands on the inside of that foot. So if you've got shorter arms, raise the hands up a little bit. So again, you've got a lovely open chest, or maybe even try bringing that back heel up off the ground. But again, if you're not feeling it, just keep that knee down. So we're going to make sure that the right hand is planted. Rotate round to the left. So either bringing the hand onto the hip, so rotating that chest, or bring the arm up. Going back to centre. Bring the knee back down if it's up. Both knees together. So we're going to open up the knees and bring the feet together and just come back and rest on the feet. So sometimes you might find you can't get much lower down than this because you've got a restriction there, which is absolutely fine. Just bring the forearms down and just bring the head onto the floor. Or if you can, just push the bottom back down. And then just sink into the floor and enjoy that lovely sensation of rest. Very gently coming up to sitting. So this is just a really, really short, nice routine that you can maybe try if you've not done yoga before. We have lots of options that you can do if you want to expand on the sort of like the practice that you've actually got. When I do my yoga classes, I try to sort of like add additional things in for people who've had a little bit more practice, just so that they can challenge themselves, but also it's also able to be suitable for people who've never done yoga before as well. So just keep checking in every week, and hopefully we'll keep you posted with any new sort of classes that are coming up, but also you can just do some yoga at home, and just if you need any help, just give me a quick shout. So thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. This is Julie from Totally Holistic Health, signing off. Take care. Bye bye.